Thursday afternoon. Hello there and welcome to The Pulse. We are coming to you live from our studios here in Accra. We are on your digital terrestrial TV because we're free to air. You can watch us live on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 144. We are JoyNews, independent, fearless and credible journalism. Well, coming up this afternoon on The Pulse, over 2 million Ghanaian SIM card owners face a possible deactivation owing to no fault of theirs. This afternoon on The Pulse, we'll tell you the story of some frustrated persons who are making one final attempt to evade sanctions.
If you are one person who has not had your card and you have made strenuous efforts, as some have done, it is painful. But we will welcome any suggestions that will help us improve either on our service delivery or the opportunity.
There's more coming up shortly as we get you to some registration centers. Plus, get more reactions to this. And concerns are equally emerging this afternoon over the recruitment into the public sector as the Civil and Local Government Staff Association of Ghana is accusing government of bloating Ghana's wage bill with jobs for party boys.
Go to Ministry of Finance now. We have over 100 personal assistants. And what work are they doing? So you ask yourself, these over 100 personal assistants are Ministry of Finance. So what work would the civil servants be doing? Is it not creating redundancy for them? Meanwhile, they are earning salaries far above what, and they don't know anything too.
We'll get you more shortly. And there's more happening on the labor front. This time around within the Judiciary, judges are calling on the Finance Ministry to fast-track the payment of the allowances, which are in several months of arrears as they round up the annual Magistrate and Judges Conference here in Accra.
This is a part of our remuneration, and we are entitled to it, and it must be paid and paid promptly, especially given taking into consideration the recent increases in the price of fuel and petrol.
The economy is biting hard, definitely. We'll explore all of that here on The Pulse. The Pulse, as always, is brought to you by Global Communities Digni Lu, Affordable Safe Sanitation. Remember that this afternoon we're streaming live on YouTube and all of our social media handles is at JoyNews on TV. I'm blessed Sogah. Thanks for choosing us. We'll be back shortly. This afternoon, over 2 million Ghanaian SIM card owners are facing a possible deactivation in the next 24 hours owing to no fault of theirs. Well, the September 30th deadline for SIM card re-registration expires, as we do know, in a few hours from now. And JoyNews is obviously learning that some Ghanaians have been left stranded at some of the registration centers as they make one final attempt to get their SIM cards linked to the Ghana cards. The National Identification Card and access to it is remaining a major challenge, as the Executive Secretary for the National Identification Authority, Professor Ken Atifwa, is indicating that there's absolutely no way the National Identification Authority and his team on the grounds will be able to meet the deadline for the SIM card registration. He is, in fact, open to any more ideas that will make access to the Ghana card more efficient. Listen.
We have done all that is reasonably necessary and appropriate, given our financial, logistical, and technical constraints, to serve the people of this country and to do so well. So, yes, it breaks my heart to see people at our offices. It breaks my heart to hear of the corruption, the extortion of monies by NIA staff. And there is credence to that. Some of them have been arrested, prosecuted, some people have been jailed, and some have been interdicted, and all kinds of processes are going on that I say I'll share with you. It may be minuscule, the numbers may be negligible, but the fact of the matter is that some of it is happening. We have to change the whole office, the personnel in the whole office, replace them and interdict them, all of that. So there are real challenges by a small number of our people, but it is happening nonetheless. And if you are one person who has not had your card and you have made strenuous efforts, as some have done, it is painful. But we will welcome any suggestions that will help us improve either on our service delivery or the opportunities. Remember, we operate within budgetary constraints. We operate with people who have been trained, who have worked around the country, who have speed, dexterity, and competence You can't just take anybody and say, go and issue cards. You can't just increase the numbers. Within this context, if you have some suggestions, we will welcome them, sir. But as for we and our household, us and our household, we shall continue to serve the Lord.
And definitely we'll be checking out the situations at some of the registration centers for you shortly. But let me bring in at this moment some more reactions greeting this deadline that's becoming imminent. Charles Kwesi Addo is spokesperson for the Mobile Money Agents Association. In fact, we are also being joined via Zoom this afternoon. Honorable Ahmed Ibrahim, his Deputy Minority Chief Whip, and also a member of the Communications Committee in Parliament. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time here on the polls. I'll start off with you, Charles, as we, of course, await that reaction from Honorable Ahmed Ibrahim. The issue about the proposal you made earlier on decentralizing the registration process, even as the deadline inches closer. What has been the level of engagement between your group and the Ministry of Communication in that regard? Charles, I'm asking what has been the level of engagement between your group and the Communications Ministry ever since.
Thank you, Kofi, and good afternoon to your sharing viewers. I must say that there has never been any engagement on the part of the Ministry of Communication. And as I speak with you, most Ghanaians are frustrated with the NIA card issue. And I will tell you, in the next 24 hours, should there be any blockade of SIM, then it is not on the part of Ghanaians. Initially, we thought it was that most people were trying to be recalcitrant. But looking at the situation on the ground, as the Professor Atifa himself said, you realize that this is of no fault of Ghanaians. And therefore, the Ministry of Communication, which is being headed by the Honorable Minister, should make sure that they streamline processes in order to absorb those Ghanaians who don't have the Ghana card, in order to aid them through the temporary registration. So for us as agent body, we want to say emphatically that there should be an extension until the other agencies, which also belong to the government, have not done their part. People need to give the chance to have their card for the full registration as well.
Well, you had made some proposals earlier, asking, for instance, for the registration process to be decentralized. At least I recall that was part of the demands you're making. How would that be urgently necessary now, given the fact that a lot more people are still unable to register their SIM cards?
Okay, the difficulty here is, should we even decentralize the whole process, as I stated earlier? People still go to these offices and their cards are not so being issued to them. So the challenge here is we should rather tackle the issue of the issuance of the card on the part of the NI. Even the decentralization, as the Professor Tifa did absorb in most across the country, people are in their various regional and district offices. The issuance of the card has become the issue. We were made to understand that there are shortage of cards, and therefore, when you go there, they will tell you, come today. They will just give you plenty of excuses. That will frustrate you. And in the end of the day, you have no option than to just relax. So for the betterment of the issuance of the card, I think if the NIA lacks resources in terms of finance, the government should make sure he reimburses them so that they will get the equipment in order to aid the printing of the card. There was a lady I spoke to last week at the Airwork Sports Stadium. And she stated emphatically that she did the registration in 2018, over 4 years now, Kofi. And it is of no fault. When she goes there, they will just tell her that go to this center, go to that center. And as we speak now, there is nothing to prove that she can. She's even made to believe that she has to go and re-register again. So the process is so cumbersome that most Ghanaians are frustrated. So if the government is going to block most people their SIM card without them having the Ghana card, then what is the sense in it? Because an agent of the same government is making it so difficult for people to just...
Right. In fact, interesting points you're raising there. And Charles, I'll come back to you shortly. Let's also bring through the Honourable Ahmed Ibrahim, who's also joining us on this. He's a member of the Communications Committee in Parliament. Thank you so much, sir, for your time. So here we are today, 24 hours to the deadline, and government is not making clear what its stance would be as to whether or not indeed all of these cards will be deactivated. We're getting clear indications that, for instance, close to 2 million people face deactivation owing to no fault of theirs. It's simply because the National Identification Authority is not able to meet the deadline. Professor Ken Atifwa tells us that clearly they are outweighed by the numbers, and September 30th would clearly not be possible for all these persons to have their cards. What's your reaction, knowing that, of course, minority has been engaging extensively on this matter? You would have to, first of all, unmute for me, Honourable, so I can get the point you're making.
Begin with, let me say, a very good afternoon to your cherished viewers. As a matter of fact, governance is for the good of the people. And we have been given the mandate to govern the people and to make life comfortable for them. But I look as if Ghanaians are not reaping the dividends of democracy or participatory democracy, simply because we are ruling Ghanaians as if we came to power on our own. How can you punish Ghanaians for sins they themselves have not committed, or for things they have no control over? If you listen to the NIA itself, they came to Parliament and said network coverage is their major problem. Then the second major problem is funding. From that time up to now, government has not provided the needed resource to them. This is the time that the IM negotiating team are in the country. The finance minister is asking of social cohesion. And then there's a chaos being deliberately spearheaded by the actions and inactions of government, department, and agencies. So clearly, if you are asking me whether there should be extension of the deadline or what should be done, government knows what to be done. The numbers that the National Statistical Council is bringing out, the numbers that the NIA itself is working with, are numbers that are based on provision and assumptions. They are not even the real numbers. If they are overwhelmed by the numbers, then what do you think that should be done? You need not to be told that there need to be an extension. The Bank of Ghana has even come out to now threaten people that those who are owing the Momo agents, who are owing on their cars, or who are owing the telcos on their cars, should make sure that they go to pay. Do you think that it is their will or their wish not to pay? And do you think that if somebody owns these telcos and you go ahead to block the numbers, then who suffers? So clearly, I don't see the head or tail of the agency in blocking people's cars. And if you go to the rural Ghana or the periphery, you realize that from the day the National Identification Authority came to Parliament today, nothing new has happened. The numbers that they claim they are working with, they have about 800 cars that have not been distributed. And if you look at the ages of their registration, they are expecting to register about 19 million people who will be eligible to be able to possess those Ghana cards. You may be up to 18 years before you can vote, but you must not be up to 18 years before you can own a mobile phone. So clearly the numbers may even be more than even 20 million. So as a matter of fact, I think the Minister for Communication must listen to Ghanaians for once and must put herself in the shoes of Ghanaians. We cannot be serving Ghana as if you are serving only the interests of the elite. You came to Parliament to register the social class. We, those in Parliament. You went to the former president, you went to the big men and also to be their houses. The ordinary Ghanaian has come to your office to sleep there for 3 days. He's not been able to secure the card.
Yeah, but I guess you would want to be fair to the Honourable Minister when she says the NIA, the institution responsible for issuing the Ghana cards, has absolutely nothing to do with the Communications Ministry. That's out of jurisdiction for her. She's also been faced with this legal impediment of just successfully rolling out the re-registration exercise. So if you were to be in the minister's shoes right now, how would you deal with that?
The minister is a cabinet minister with the Minister for Interior. The NIA is under the Minister of Interior. The communication and the network provision is under the Minister of Communication. Parliament approved a loan of over $170 million given to the Minister for Communication to go and provide network coverage to rural Ghana, to provide about 2,016 telecom masts. It has been that was 2018. We are in 2022. For 4 years now, the Minister for Communication, Eslaosu, has failed in using the money to provide the network coverage to rural Ghana. So if the National Identification Authority is unable to have internet facility in rural Ghana, who is the cause? The Minister for Communication should have used the loan that Parliament approved for him to make sure that she provides 2,016 telecom mats in all the areas of Ghana. She should have used the money to provide network coverage. Then that would have facilitated the work of the Minister of Interior via the NIA to make sure that now that there's network, they can now print the cards for Ghanaians. So government works, there must be interoperability. So you can't say that you are acting exclusively independent of the Minister of Interior. That is not how governance works. That is why the Constitution said that there must be 19 ministers of cabinet to assist the president in delivery. So you can't say that I'm in charge of this. I don't care what happens to National Communication Authority. I'm going ahead to block telcos. Have you considered that the telecom sector is not as lucrative as it used to be before the coming into government of Nana Akufo-Addo president? Now Airtel Tigo is gone. Now the Indians have run away. The Vodafone people are also running away. It's like the kind of frustration that the telecom landscape is encountering is too much. And the earlier we spoke to the Minister for Communication to hasten slowly, the better. Because communication now is a national security asset. You can't say you are blocking SIM cards just without you performing that aspect of providing network coverage to facilitate the work of the National Identification Authority. There must be that telepathy between Communication Ministry, Interior Ministry, and Finance Ministry. By so doing, they will be able to do the extension of the network. They will be able to release funding to the National Identification Authority. They will be able to print the cards. Then after that, now that you have given the cards to every Ghanaian, you can now say that those who have not connected their SIM cards to their mobile phones, to their Ghana card, are doing that deliberately. Therefore, I'm going ahead to block people. Until then, it will be wrong for the Minister for Communication to go ahead and block people's SIM cards. It's a national security issue, and it can destabilize this country by making sure that there's no social cohesion.
We'll explore the implications for national security shortly. We'll do that shortly, Honorable Ahmed Ibrahim. I also need to indicate that very shortly we'll be taking you across the country, and also, first of all, starting off in Accra and getting some feeds for you as to some of the people who have been going through the process. We'll get all of that shortly for you. But Honorable Ibrahim, the point about national security which you're bringing in now is something that we've not been looking at in terms of the whole conversation. How will this affect the stability of the country in your view?
Do you remember the 2-day blockade of people's SIM cards? The National Security Ministry has to go to the presidency to talk to them that the country was about to be stabilized before the SIM cards were relieved. They will not go ahead to tell you this. But that was practical situation that happened. Ghanaians were furious and they nearly exploded. So it's like we all know what happened. And the Minister for Communication is not oblivious of this. So if I say it's a national security issue, I'm just referring to the 2-day blockade, that practical blockade that we had. The kind of exacerbation that happened in this country, how people were angry, the kind of stampede, and how people were about to explode. This is what led to the Minister for National Security to go to the President and advise that no, the thing was about getting out of hand before they reverted back on blocking people's SIM cards. So they know the practicalities of it. Put that one aside. It's a medical issue. You know, we are in the era of telemedicine. Doctors are using their phones in prescribing medicine for people and medication for people. Put that one aside. The police and the interior, the security people are all using their mobile phones, not only by their individual self, but by making sure that they provide vital information in trapping criminals and all those things. So there are a lot of things that people are using their mobile phone for. Mobile phones have moved from the era of luxury to the era of necessity. And therefore, the minister should not be oblivious of this. Your inability to provide even 2,000, you Minister for Communication, that we use the taxpayers' money to go for a loan, millions of dollars given to you in 2018 to provide internet coverage to the whole Ghana. You have been unable to do that. Then you are saying that if people don't connect their phones to their Ghana card that they don't have, you are going ahead to block them. Should you extend your incompetency in punishing Ghanaians because you are incompetent?
I guess when the issue of competence comes up, you in the minority will also be questioned. The fact that you're not able to deploy any means to try and call the minister and government to order. What have you been doing ever since? And of course, you are in the leadership when it comes to the minority. What have you done practically to draw the attention of government to this and to try and bring some order?
The matter of competency in terms of Parliament went ahead. You know, the matter of rolling this Ghana card issue is in 3 areas. The Ministry of Communication is using it to block people's SIM card. The Electoral Commission is using the same Ghana card to register people. The Ministry of Finance through Bank of Ghana is using that one to block people's savings. So it's like we are fighting from 3 areas. The minority, we invited the Ghana card people to come and let us know their challenges. We invited the Electoral Commission to come and let us know their challenges. We told both of them that they should go. We will re-invite them after we have written our report. The Communication Ministry, this is the Communication, Minority in Communication, also organized a press conference to churn out with the frustration of Ghanaians and all those things. We even visited the National Identification Authority offices to get a physical first-hand information on what is happening. So there are a lot that we are doing. And the deputy ranking, together with a number of people, have also, because Parliament is on recess, have also resorted to the court to make sure that there's an injunction on this SIM card blockade. So as a minority, there's a lot that we are doing. But you all know Parliament is on recess. As I speak to you, we are in our various constituencies making sure that we are doing our vetting for branches and all those things. So there is much happening. The government itself too is saying that, you know, he needs a national social cohesion. Therefore, we must all come back and think of the economy. And economic issues and social issues are not inseparable. Economic issues are tied to social issues. If we are not able to handle this SIM card registration very well, it may lead to social chaos and the social cohesion that we need to rally in these difficult times together as a country. We may not have it. So there's much that we are doing. We are not sleeping on our job. And I believe our good job is going to yield results. There is no way the minister, if he's a Democrat, there's no way he will go ahead to say he's blocking people's SIM card tomorrow.
What do we lay the blame squarely at? Should it be at the doorsteps of the Ghana National Identification Authority? Or should we be focusing on the Ministry of Communication as you've been doing ever since? Because the belief is the sole piece of document we need now that will, deal with that hurdle is the Ghana card. So why not turn the heat on the Interior Ministry and those supervising the issuance of the Ghana card process?
You know, the Ghana card itself suffered a lot before being relocated to the Ministry of Interior. At first, it was under the office of the president. From there, it went to the office Ministry of Finance. From there, it has come to the Ministry of Interior. So the Minister of Interior is now going to use their own budget to make sure that they are able to deliver. But if you want, I'm not interested in shifting blame. But if you want to tackle this, some of the issues are multidimensional. And I've pointed out to you that Parliament, the money, the over $100 million that we gave to the Minister of Communication to go and solve the problem of network connectivity. If the Minister of Communication has done that, I think we wouldn't be at where we are. And if indeed happened 4 years ago, if that same money was given to the National Identification Authority, they might have gone far. But here is the case. They presented their budget, NIA presented their budget of 320 million to the Minister for Finance. The Minister for Finance said he cannot provide 320 million. He could only provide 180 million. Based on that, the NIA is saying that until they are giving the 180 million, 320 million, it will be wrong for any government department or agency to go ahead to say that he's using the Ghana card for social or economic or electoral activities. This is in the report that NIA, National Education Authority, provided to MPs in Parliament, where Esla also, who is the Minister for Communication herself, was seated. So clearly, if you are asking of the blame, the NIA need the money. The finance minister say we can't give you the money. Then the IMA says, the National Education Authority says, if you don't give me this money, then it will be wrong for you to go ahead to use my card as the mandatory or the sole document for delivery of socio-economic and electoral activities. So until that money is given to NIA, I can't blame NIA. What I can blame is I can blame the Communication Ministry because we gave them loan and they have failed to provide the 2016 network telecom mass connectivity. I can also blame the Minister of Finance for not funding the NIA with the 320 million Ghana cedis to be able to roll out and print the Ghana card for every Ghanaian. But for the NIA itself, they were frank with us in Parliament, but they told us that until this money, our budget is given to us, it will be wrong for anybody to go ahead. And it is in a written report that they presented to us in Parliament. So I think, I don't know whether the Minister for Communication takes delight in punishing Ghanaians for voting for them as a government. So this is what I can say if you ask me of where to shake.
I see you're bringing in the political angle. I will get to that because your party has also been raising concerns about the reliance on the Ghana card and how it's related to elections 2024. We'll delve into that shortly. But let's clear the issue of the SIM card registration first. So, Honorable Ibrahim, just hold on for me briefly. Charles Kwesiado, I'll also come to you. But let's speak to Mona Lisa Frimpong in the Ashanti region. She's been monitoring the exercise so far. Mona Lisa, what can you report?
Okay, Blizzard, good afternoon. Well, I'm at the MTN Service Center at the Sanso in Kumasi. I came to find quite a long queue here, and I've spoken to some customers, and I've asked them why they waited for quite a long time before they came to register their SIMs, a day before the deadline. And some said their SIM registration process wasn't complete. And others say there were network issues, so they were told by the telco staff to come some other time. And some gave up completely and turned up today with the hopes of getting registered. But this afternoon, I passed by and I've seen that the queue has quite reduced, but I found out from them that most of them have gone home because they say the queue wasn't moving. And the staff have refused to communicate anything to them. I tried to make inquiries from some of the staff, but I wasn't allowed. So, that's what I can report for now.
You get a sense that all of the people you see in the queue right now may be able to go through the process before the day even ends?
And please, I can't hear you.
I'm talking about the long queues you are referring to. Is there any hope or a sense that given the centers at which they are now, they'll be able to go through the process smoothly?
Well, I doubt they'll be able to go through the process because some have been here since 6 a.m. in the morning, even before the office was open, and they have still not been able to register. So I doubt. And then some say that the worst they can do is if they are not able to register, probably they will switch to other networks, so they will throw their SIM cards away.
Oh, that's what they're telling you?
Yes, yes, yes.
Interesting times ahead. But anyway, Mona Lisa, thank you for the updates from the Ashanti regional capital, Kumasi. Of course, we'll be getting you some live pictures of what's happening elsewhere. But let me bring in Charles Kwesiado. Honorable Ibrahim Ahmed is still with us. But Charles, let me start off with you first. The issue about the long queues we're still experiencing at the various centers. So how do we deal with this? The deadline, obviously, from indications we're getting from the minister, will still happen anyway. So we're waiting to see what then will happen. So how do we deal with those in the queue now? And some may even miss the opportunity.
Thank you, Kofi. I must say that we are businessmen, and as businessmen, our aim is to maximize profit. When the mobile market fatality has to do with to be able to earn much commission. And then the long queues that are there, and those people to have their re-registered. So as businessmen, we want to advise both political parties, the MP or the NDC, that we are businessmen. They should make sure they do the needful. They should make sure that they make the process so soft that the ordinary Ghanaian, at the end of the day, will be able to go through this exercise smoothly. Secondly, as part of the National Executive Council of the Mobile Money Agents Association of Ghana, we want to plead with the government of the day that he should not pay much heed to the 30th of September deadline. Because if he goes ahead and do that, it is going to affect not only the mobile money agents across the country, but the telcos itself is also going to have themselves to be blamed in terms of those people who have gone for, what do we call it, quick loans, as the Bank of Ghana issued a communique to that effect. That was yesterday. So there are lots of economic activity that is going to be brought to halt. The people are unable to be transacted with an agent in the country, we are going to be affected. So we are just pleading. We should stop the blame game. We should be problem solvers. We should just go straight ahead and make sure we all put our shoulders to the road and all push along. This exercise is a very good one. It will help agents across the country. Likewise, will it help the security agency as well. So we are pleading with the government as the National PRO of the Mobile Money Agents Association. I want to speak on behalf of my people and plead with the government of the day to have lineage with Ghanaians, to also retool the NIA by financing them as the Honorable Member of Parliament stated, that they have not been given the full budgeted amount as it's supposed to be. So we are just pleading that the finance minister should also make sure he just finance those authorities, that we all have a very fruitful exercise going forward.
Charles Kwesiado, thank you. Let me bring in Honorable Ahmed Ibrahim. The aspect about the politics of it. Your political party is raising issues, for instance, with the elections 2024, a reason for which you suspect the government is mounting pressure on more and more people to get the Ghana card, to get registered and to link their SIM cards with it as well. We've also heard from the likes of the former special prosecutor, Martin Amidu, make similar claims. Why are you suspicious of government when government is indeed telling us that data harmonization is key for development?
We are not disagreeing with government that data harmonization is key. But what we are saying is that if government is committed to making sure that government is interested in the use of Ghana card, government must rule out and finance the activities of Ghana card to make sure every Ghanaian has the Ghana card. Why is it that when we are doing electoral registration, Ghanaians don't, even though the Electoral Commission sometimes use limited days, we normally do not have a lot of challenges when it comes to that, simply because we budget for Electoral Commission and give Electoral Commission the needed resources to provide voters' ID card for eligible registrants for voting. So if you are going to use the Ghana card as eligible source material, mandatory eligible source material for registering, then let's resource the Ghana card people, just as we do with Electoral Commission. If you do that, then you'll be keeping faith with Ghanaians. But you can't be stifling the National Identification Authority people with funding, and still insist that every Ghanaian must have it, knowing very well that by stifling the electoral committee, listen, Ghana card people with resources, they may not be able to register every Ghanaian. Meanwhile, you say that that's the only document you are going to use.
So how is this a political tool in the view? How is this a political tool in the view of the NDC?
We have resolved that until every Ghanaian, we are not going to make a law in anticipation that in future every Ghanaian will have a Ghana card, but we will make a law with the resolution that every Ghanaian has it. We wouldn't be part of, excuse me to say, this stupidity in saying that we assume that this will happen to us, so let's make a law today, waiting for it. What if the assumption doesn't hold? Then Ghanaians will say, oh, you were part of those who took that decision. We will not be part of that. So we will make sure that we convince ourselves that government make the necessary funding to the National Identification Authority people. Then by so doing, government will be keeping faith with Ghanaians. Then we know that once the funding is given to the NIA, you have this number of months to make sure that every Ghanaian who is capable or eligible to register has registered. When that is done, and we convince ourselves that this has been done, then you can make a law that now that every Ghanaian has it, it is mandatory. We have no problem with that. But to make laws based on assumption, no, we have sworn to defend the Constitution. The 1992 Constitution, Article 107, 1 and 2 is clear that we cannot make a law to change the decision of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court in the Abu Ramadan case made a ruling, the decision that the Electoral Commission can only make use of the Ghana card, can make use of the guarantor system, or can make use of the Ghana passport. And these three were the reason why we amended the CI 91 to make sure that CI 126 came. So once we made that law in conformity with the decision of the Supreme Court, we will not be part of any move to make sure that we make a law that will change or will vary the decision of the Supreme Court. And this is our position. And let the Electoral Commission not there, and let government not there. We are talking about social cohesion. This move will cause social instability, and government must take a cue from that.
So serious comments you're making there, Honorable Ahmed Ibrahim. Just hold on for me briefly. Let's get a picture of what's happening here in Accra itself. Elsewhere in Kumasi, we just heard that report by Mona Lisa Frimpong indicating that there's a very long queue, and it's happening across many centers in the Ashanti region. So let's see what's the situation here in the Greater Accra region. Michael Ashale has been checking that out for us. Let's see what he's found out.
September 30 for the SIM card registration exercise, and time is taken definitely for individuals like this who are currently at some of the telecommunication offices to re-register their SIM cards. But some of individuals like this tell me that they've been here for hours waiting for their turn to register their SIM cards. Many of them have been telling me about some of the challenges they've had to endure only to be here and again to be further delayed. For some of them, it will be difficult to meet their deadline, not forgetting that some of these shops close as early as 5 p.m. and all of these individuals will have to go home. Let me speak to some of them and find out how long they've been here, what have they been told, and what exactly is going to happen to them. Are they going to be able to register their SIM cards in the first place? Bossman, good afternoon.
Afternoon.
I mean, how long have you been here?
Oh, more than 10 hours.
Wow, more than 10 hours?
Young boy, I quadruple for one and no more. You register about 1 hour, just 2 hours.
How is that possible?
I don't know. Go and ask them.
So for you, how does that make you feel that you've been here for 10 hours only to register your SIM card?
Yes.
But why are you now coming to register your SIM card? We've been registering cards for months now.
My Ghana card is ready. And then 3 days I'm calling my Ghana card. I don't think I'm an channel.
Okay, so he tells me that his Ghana card was not ready. That is why he's only coming now hours to the end of the exercise now. But definitely how say watch our hat too much.
Oh, I have a pa. Some of them are Semunti na madwuma to and the other na me and a minute. Se me didi. Na the old me betwa the old or ha me de medidi. And the ha me.
Na adwuma na oyɛ.
Oh, me ton niam o circle. Me ton phone niam.
Na we gya no waba ha.
Gya ba o kro bi ani ho. Na ma ba betena. Me ba na o kro check hwe.
Na de no ma catch ro.
Omo kan hwe nkire you. Ye nimu hwe. Ye tia sa na ya kasa sa. Omo su muaye. And will be free inside also Baba boy. And the answer and the face soon was I could inside.
Why? So he's been telling me that he's been here for a very long time, obviously. But the frustrations got them talking. And again, you get management of this particular MTN shop that is in Circle. He says that some people from the shop came to confront them. I didn't know.
Yeah. Mammy be free inside Roba, say only security man because I know my back was one and Anka say, and one boy no buffy kiki.
No, mammy, no way.
Oh, mammy, no, she inside.
And Siciano say almost on between watching or someone to my register. So you talk about 5 on my phone.
And Munga just a munchum, no mangas a mon liar, and do muchum cry and yajuma, and do more munchum. But I'm going to say 1 hour you, could you gonna cut in Tamanka? Any I sang Anaka, Utimuka, last year, this year, everyone was I can't obey any day. And Junior Samuka.
So if the minister was here, what would he have told them?
And to make catch them tear for say, or more moon cassim, no more my date to Kakranka, now you have found register. And only MT, but now, Minister Nanka say, Minister, as a minister, make catch them. If it's one got a Ghana card, no qua, yet in there, a china, and net, Uber to your lot of first, and near that house, I was Sanka. A Jomo, and yes, beer. Ya Ghana card and young conquer you, Yaquay by and Sanka. Oquay waki, nipe guano, or pepe, but Obian Sanka.
So, I mean, he's been telling me that the only reason it's coming at such a time is because of the delays in getting hold of his Ghana card. Probably, if the minister can reconsider and give them some more time so that individuals like him, by no fault of theirs, are now coming to register their SIM cards. They will be able to register, go through the exercise without getting their SIM cards deactivated. Bossman, how long have you been here?
I've been here around 11.
Since 11 in the morning?
Yeah.
What have they been telling you?
Well, they were saying there's network problem. They said network problem, yeah.
Network problem, that's what they've told you?
Yeah.
Are they going to, what time are they going to close though?
I actually don't know.
That would mean that you spent nearly half of your day here and still not able to register your SIM card?
Well, for me, I actually traveled down because of that. I'm not in the country. That is the reason why I came, and I have to make sure that I've got it right before returning back. So I'm waiting right after here. If I get it, I have to return back.
But definitely, it will be very frustrating for you that you only came here for this exercise, and now you have to be delayed for several hours with nothing really told to you.
Well, we are here. We are watching. It will take them about 30 minutes. And you'll see that the flow will be moving, and for 30 minutes it will be slowed down. So we can see actually that they have some challenges with the network. Yeah.
And that's not worrying for you?
My worry is I have to travel outside this country this evening, and I came because of this. So if they close and it's actually that they are closing the day tomorrow, then I think I've lost my number. That is what I'm praying, that I should be able to have my SIM registered before I leave.
I see. So I didn't get your name though.
My name?
Yes.
I'm Prophet Jerry.
Okay. Jerry, so what really are you going to do? Tomorrow is the last day for SIM card registration. You are traveling outside tonight. What are you going to do? I'm
praying to God if they can consider me to do it.
What will you tell the minister? And maybe she was here. Should she end the exercise tomorrow or extend it?
She should extend it. You should extend it. The minister, she knows me. She knows me. The vice president of Akawood Movies Association. We met her at Dansuman last stop when she was campaigning. We do the campaign for her. So she should consider this. It's some of us, we are not in the country. We have to travel because of this. And today is the last day. I'm here since morning. You get?
Again, this is partly your fault. Why are you not coming?
Yeah, I'm also working there, you see. Asking permission, all sort of. Outside is not like our own country here.
I understand you, Jerry. Thank you very much. So let's speak to some more people on definitely the frustrations that they have to go through at the end of the day, to be delayed for several hours trying to register their SIM cards. Boss, what's your name?
My name is Omar.
Kuma, how long have you been here?
Umar.
Roman, how long have you been here?
My name is Umar.
Omar. Okay, Omar, how long have you been here?
I was here right from, I think, let me see, 9:30 to 10 thereabouts.
Yes, since 9:30 in the morning. I mean, how frustrating is it for you that you have to sit here for nearly 8 hours?
It's very frustrating because looking at the way the queue is moving, I think the office is having some challenges, which I believe if they can do something about it, because there are a lot of people behind me, you understand, and the people I met here still, there are people, some of them here, you understand. So like this gentleman, I came to meet him here, but all the same, we are all here. What we don't understand is that me, for instance, I have registered my line before, you understand, and when they were doing the blocking, they blocked the line. So I don't understand how come that happened. I passed through this process again. I've passed through this process already. So I'm now going through again for the second time. My question now is that why is this thing happening? Because we need to put all these kind of facilities around so that if maybe those who have registered before, they should have a specific people that will attend to them. But when you come here, they'll box you to everybody together, whether you are new or old or whatever, and it's not fair. Looking at the previous experience, I know I'm going through the same, so there is nothing I can do. Due to that, when we try to complain and find a solution to that, but it became an issue, you understand? But that is past already. What we want to do is to register our SIM line, and it's our right to do that. So if today, 29th, tomorrow, 30th, I'm not able to do it, it means I've lost my line. Must that be my fault? It's not my fault, because from onset, registration of SIM card, there is nothing like Ghana card. Though we want to have a quality and a good database, and to strengthen our security. That is why we are doing this to but the whole thing is looking some way. So the authorities up there must up their game and, bring, already it's ongoing, because if you buy a new SIM now, you definitely need to use your Ghana card. So what happened with the existing numbers already? Are you trying to trash them out? You understand, yeah.
Very, very good questions that you are asking. So what would you say to the minister at this point in time? Do we go ahead and end the SIM card registration exercise and delete all the other numbers for the system?
I think doing that will create a very big problem, and these are artificial problems. We can correct them. We made the law as humans. We can as well correct the law. You understand? Why are we stressing ourselves 30th if you don't register? And most of us, Ghanaians, hand to mouth. If you don't go, you not eat. And those of us who are here today consider us that today we are not feeding home. Of course, time is money. If you don't go, you don't eat. So that is the challenges we are facing. So if she really thinks about us, the Ghanaians, and she knows she's there because of us, she should think about us first, not the problem. The problem should not be a priority than us.
Thank you very much for it. Let me speak to a few more people here that we can wrap up here. So you clearly can see how difficult and how long it takes for just one person to finish their registration. That's what they've been telling me so far is that the challenges with the system are becoming very frequent, and fewer people are getting the opportunity to register their SIM cards. Let me speak to some of the ladies in the queue on how exactly this is going. Clearly, some of the confusion that also brings in the seating arrangement that is here. Let me try to find some of the women and see how long they have been here and how the process is going for them. Madam, good afternoon. How long have you been here?
trains
best 7 and about.
Hey, my best trains no musi network ninye and my chemako Chrome and my say back. Me back afedi almost network no bibia movie enim de akoso and then my baha buy 3 times. My baha nay I can 3 times. Because me buy no almost say na me come head of headquarters to no and almost say member ha me buy me who sadan so betna ha sa the same thing and almost say yanko na ditia afedi ya ba me who me dey maintain the whole thing no maintain ase.
This is almost a tremo because what you register be tremo
bra me free sa wo muton and my baha neka 3 times. Wow, until my chumwa, Minishi, the say phone na me use so many problem because almost person my mamia. Me phone before saying things say me almost me know so a problem because me register and sana me wedding. What I say, enti edinu assistant card edina me dem papa din na ya me card. And I miss say I'm kunudi. And they say no, na missing komu mami na omunye mami. What I say, but my boss meaning what is going on.
So you want them to cancel? What would you tell the minister if she was here?
What?
The minister, what would you tell her? Should she extend the deadline?
Marinya mianim. Oh, shaka kraka yo hatasuri. Na omunye bibi mfa ho. Embuaye nkra. Embuaye. Ba kuna omuka omutwe mu ni say me adwuma na me ye no na adwuma na collapse efi say baby ana me hye no nipa no di nyoma ni free China bremi o frame sa wanyame enti na je say so di come obi fufuro ti me say for
but your name for saying
me Elizabeth Baba Seidu.
Elizabeth, thank you very much for talking to us. So Elizabeth is one of many who has already suffered dark consequences of the earlier blockage, selective blockage, partial blockage again, or some of the SIM cards here. For many of these people, they're only praying that they get to meet the closing time of this company, else they'll have to go home and come back another day. Most of them are pleading to the minister responsible for communication, Nesla Owusu, to reconsider probably extending the time for the deadline. Other than that, for individuals like this who are interested in registering their SIM cards, they would have lost out. Their SIM cards will have to be blocked when the time comes up. For JoyNews, Michael Ashale.
We're not too sure if the sector minister herself is still in country, knowing that there's an ITU conference in Bucharest. We're still awaiting the outcome of a series of meetings that have happened this week. The Honorable Ahmed Ibrahim is still with us. So you've seen some of the concerns on the streets of Accra, and also in Kumasi we're getting reports that it's not different. So unfortunately for you, Parliament is not resumed from recess, so you're limited in terms of the action that you'd be able to take now. What's left for you in terms of the options for the minority in mounting pressure for some extension or at least a partial halt on the registration exercise?
Clearly, we don't take delight as a minority, we don't take delight in the inefficiencies of government anyway. But I believe if the party MPP as a party has the interests of Ghanaians at heart, this conversation that you've had with the Ghanaians citizenry queuing to register their SIM card alone, the party leadership should be looking for the whereabouts of the minister and be advising her as well. Beyond that, I think the deputy ranking with a number of MPs have taken this matter to the law court. And I believe our judges, if they listen to what has taken place, must also prioritize that case as well. And I believe these two scenarios will be able to put the minister on hold so that the tomorrow's deadline is not implemented. Other than that, I think we may not be able to hold the country together. Can you imagine the kind of frustration the businesswoman who spoke to you went through? That means I see form. because of SIM card registration. This is my third time. So genuinely, there are people with genuine reasons of their inability not to be able to connect their SIM card with their Ghana card. And I believe as a country, if we really care about leading the people well, we must take the concern into consideration. So once the Parliament comes on the 25th of next month, I believe the leadership of Parliament may be meeting next week. And I believe we must be able to put this matter to rest. We cannot be jeopardizing and experimenting with the life of the people we are leading. You said the minister is in ITU. She's in ITU with the taxpayers' money. The taxpayers who have sponsored your trip to outside are those who are crying now, and she must listen to them as well.
Obviously, there's the issue relating to the court cases. And talking about the court cases, we are getting a bit of some information coming through now that some persons who took earlier action against the National Identification Authority, and 9 of them have actually withdrawn simply because the NIA is providing clear details of where it is that they can collect their cards. And that feeds into the conversation as to the attitude of the Ghanaian. The belief is that, and we've heard Professor Kenatefa complain about that some of the cards have been printed, and yet you want some Ghanaians who are asking for money just to come for their own cards. So it's not as though the NIA is completely inefficient. It appears that some Ghanaians simply don't want to go in for their cards as well.
Brother, you see, where you and I are, so we may trivialize some people's inability to afford even 10 Ghana cedis to bulk out from Sawan to Accra to come for their card. But there are genuine concerns. If you go to the periphery or rural Ghana, you see poverty with your naked eyes. So some of those issues, people inability to even get lorry fare to come for their cars, let us not trivialize it. But I believe there are genuine concerns. People don't have it. But you remember that the people were talking about network connectivity? Whose responsibility is it to make sure that they provide good quality network? So clearly there are systemic failures and systemic inefficiencies. And these are matters the minister must address himself with and address. Until we address those challenges, we may be stretching the ordinary Ghanaians to a point where you can no longer stretch them. And that is where it becomes a national security issue. So I believe the leaders of the country, including we, those me speaking here, must take the interests of Ghanaians at heart. And I believe there are problems to be solved. There's poor quality of network. There's absence of network connectivity. There are lack of funds for NIA to be able to do their work. And government must prioritize all those things. The Minister of Interior itself must take interest in it because it's a national security issue as well. Anyway,
I would have to leave it here for now, but I'm so grateful that you've been able to spend some time with us this afternoon. That's the Honorable Ahmed Ibrahim, Deputy Minority Chief Whip and MP for Panda. You're still watching The Pulse here on the JoyNews channel. We'll return, we'll talk about the civil service and how there are accusations that government is piling up more and more party affiliates into the system. We'll assess the claims shortly. Please stay. And you're welcome back. The Civil and Local Government Service Association, CLOSAG, is urging government to back off interfering with the civil service through the employment of unqualified party members. Now, the Executive Secretary for CLOSAG, Isaac Bampo Ado, says this has actually rendered members of the association redundant, even though they are more competent than the party foot soldiers. He's been speaking at the 5th Nathan Kwao lectures here in Accra.
Recruiting of party apparatchiks as consultants to perform routine civil service functions and paying them higher on-hand salaries. That's ballooning the civil service wage bill as reported in the 2020 Auditor General's report for MMDAs and MMDAs. Hindsight evidence reveals that the so-called ghost names that cannot be identified in the civil service payroll have turned out to be personal assistants of ministers. Related to the above, permanent consultancies for key functions of the services have been outsourced to party apparatchik consultants. This has compromised the quality of services provided by most civil servant service organizations, as they are undertaken without the required institutional guidance, expertise, and experience. Foreign training and development workshops meant to build the capacity of civil servants are also hijacked by politicians and their party apparatchiks to the detriment of the growth of the services. The ones they are not able to hijack are sabotaged to the disadvantage of the nation. Political appointments of chief directors and heads of departments to the civil and local government services contravenes the Supreme Court ruling on 14 June 2017. This situation is a clear example of abuse of political power. A key function taken over by the political appointees is furthermore in the era of policy initiation and formulation. Instances of this can be cited in almost all the ministries, leading to weak policy coordination and management. The creation of parallel institutions to cater for parochial interests of politicians has also, to a large extent, duplicated the efforts and services offered by the staff of the civil and local government services. The management of school feeding program, for instance, is currently in the hands of a school feeding secretariat at the center of government, instead of being managed by the local government assemblies. Special assistants brought in by politicians have convoluted the required policies with the introduction of all sorts of policy advice, which is not fit for purpose for our circumstances. Instances have also been cited as special assistants' advice holding sway over that of the experienced civil servant. Special assistants go to the extent of undertaking their own narrow research to inure to their benefits to the detriment of planned government researches by ministries, thus limiting the efficacy of policy formulation, effective implementation of government policies. The periodic review of government policies and plans, which should naturally follow a certain pattern, are truncated as a result of superimposition of utopian ideas by political cohorts.
And that's Isaac Bambuado, in charge, of course, heading that group called CLOGSAC. Joining us via phone now is Austin Game. He's a labor consultant. And Mr. Game, thank you so much for your time here on the Pulse. But just before we get into the conversation, we know that there are more allegations being raised this afternoon. In fact, Isaac Bambuado there also alleging that as many as 100 political personal assistants have been seconded to the Ministry of Finance. We can take a listen to him on that claim, and then I'll get your thoughts on how we can deal with this.
Before a minister can have a personal assistant, it must be approved by the Chief of Staff. There's regulation on that. I think the law allows for only 2. But go to Ministry of Finance now. We have over 100 personal assistants, and what work are they doing? So you ask yourself, this over 100 assistants are Ministry of Finance. So what work would the civil servants be doing? Is it not creating redundancy for them? Meanwhile, they are earning salaries far above what, and they don't know anything too. Mr.
Game, your take on that? As many as 100 political appointees there at the Ministry of Finance. That's a claim, actually. We've not independently verified that. But if it's coming through from CLOGSAC, obviously they have their personnel at the ministry. What do you make of this, and how do we really deal with some of these challenges?
Well, once upon a time, I asked a question when I started traveling out of Ghana and back. I asked somebody who is not alive today, so I can't mention his name, that when you travel, what do you see? And how do we bring that to help our country? And he advised me I should not ask anybody because people may not take kindly to it because everybody wants to have his way. So I learned a lesson. Now, in the U.S., I'll give you 2 examples of the U.S. and Japan, where I studied a lot. In the U.S., a lot of the people who come in are brought, sometimes they are appointed the top echelon appointed by the president, like example, like Obama, like Trump, and like now Biden. When they are going, they go away with them. They go away with them. A lot of them are gone. The key people who are purely civil servants are civil servants. They are not part and parcel of that arrangement. I studied a lot in Japan, and I can tell you, their civil service people are protected, and they work independently. Their conscience is clear to serve the people of Japan. I have been in the ministry, and I do know that I never took anybody there personally myself, apart from my driver. And when I was going, I went away with him. He stayed with me. Clearly, the people I met there, like Mrs. Bridget Kastriku, is exceptionally brilliant, and because of her caliber, that's why they moved her even to become chairperson of the Public Services Commission. You might have liking for a certain political party, but they never showed it. And because of this spirit of partisan politics into our system, unfortunately, some of the people within the civil and public service, they are not free. They are not free. They cannot perform the way we expect them as a nation to perform. I know people who are going through a hell of problem past and present. So clearly what I want to say is that it's not a very healthy thing. When we were writing the labor law and we got to Japan, they told us that they don't want any interference of political office holders. So they would like to speak to us privately to give us the best of information, because they don't want our law to be tainted with politics. I was so flabbergasted to, get to know that this is the extent to which they do their things, and this is how bad we are back here in Ghana. So I'm so sad to hear my friend Bampo saying that, but it's true, and what they can do is to seek audience with the head of the civil service and see what the head of the civil service can do about that. And we should stop. We should cease. You, the media, the CSOs, and even Parliament, even though Parliament is supposed to be, we can have a law passed.
Yeah.
So nobody would be importing or sending people there in such a huge numbers. I don't know the reason why we should be doing that to ourselves.
Yeah, but Mr. Game, there's the question. Are you with me, Mr. Game? There's the question as to what exactly is wrong with the political appointee bringing assistance who would help in, quote, the efficient delivery of what he's been voted into office to do. I guess all we want to achieve at the end of the day is that we want to get the work done. So if it has to take 4 more people to get the work done, that should be our priority, isn't it?
Look, two sides of the coin. One side of the coin is that our civil service is very rich. Let me confirm that. Our civil service is very rich with talent and people with tremendous knowledge and skill. That is the thing they have been trained and have lived with all these years. All they need is guidance. If you are a political office holder and you are going there and you do not have all the capability of doing things yourself and to make use of the numbers you've gone to meet there, and you want to make use of some other talent, maybe not more than 3, would be okay. But if what we are hearing is anything to go by, it may be too huge for my liking. So we have to pay for it.
And you are calling for at least some legislation to come through. The fear is the same class of people who would have to push through this legislation would have to be probably the MPs. They are political appointees waiting for their turn to serve in power. So we may never see that happen anytime soon, you agree?
except we are not learning. If you go to the UK today, where sometimes we copy certain things from, if you go to the US today, if you go to Japan today, their parliament, they don't overly do partisan politics when it comes to certain national issues. Here we are now confronted with, fiscal policy matter. We do not have money. Our discipline is scattered all over the place. So why do we have to overpopulate the public and civil service when we do know that it is not proper? If you overemploy people, you have to pay for it. And the consequences, you have to live with it. Fortunately, the people we are talking to, the likes of His Excellency the President, I was in Parliament with him. That was his concern also. He raises it on the floor of the House. So it's nothing strange to him. So it has to be drummed. That when you are voted as a member of Parliament and you get there, even though you went there on the ticket of a political party, the totality of the constituency you represent ceases to be that of your political party. It is the totality of the people who dwell in that constituency. Some of them never even saw you before. It is at their behest that you are there. Your popularity today is because of them. So you cannot, under any circumstances, go and hoist the flag of only the political party through the channel which you went to Parliament, say that you will not stay. Then your conscience has a problem. And the gentlemen and the ladies in Parliament there, I think, are very capable of discovering themselves.
Right. And finally, what options are available to, for instance, members of CLOGSAG who claim that they're being redundant?
They should petition the Speaker. They should petition the head of the civil service. And they can petition also the National Labour Commission that this is their dilemma. They are not doing what they are supposed to do because of this excesses. And it's through no fault of theirs. Because some people might go to work, they will not have anything to do, but they are being paid by you and myself, our taxes.
Anyway, I'm grateful so much for your time. Austin Game is a Labour consultant. Thank you for your time. Judges lamenting the non-payment of their allowances on time, revealing they have several months of their allowances in arrears. According to the president of the Association of Magistrates and Judges, Justice Henry Kofi, these allowances form an important part of their conditions of service and called on government to honour this obligation. Justice Henry Kofi was speaking at the annual conference of judges and magistrates here in Accra.
Allowances of judges and magistrates are paid on time. My predecessors, at every single conference, the issue of the payment of allowances seems to be raised by whoever speaks, any of my predecessors as president of the association. And I cannot escape that topic as well, because as I speak, I am told that the fuel allowance for the first quarter was released only last week to the Judiciary service. Last week. First quarter is January to March. So I cannot even begin to talk about second and third quarter. As for fourth quarter, don't start thinking about it. I think that this is very, very necessary, and the situation where we always have to fight. You will recall, my lords, that even this year, some previous allowances outstanding from last year were paid. And that was because of the instrumentality of the Chief Justice. We had to be virtually dragging the Chief Justice before eventually the ministry released funds. The ministry released funds for the payment of those allowances. I think that situation is not acceptable. Allowances are part of our remuneration, and we are entitled to it, and it must be paid and paid promptly, especially taking into consideration the recent increases in the price of fuel and petroleum products. We cannot escape talking about this issue. And we think that the authorities do take this matter very, very, very seriously.
Well, there's more from Justice Henry Kofi, who also raised concerns about some courthouses which are in a deplorable state across the country and called on government to fix it.
The association has taken note of the recent infrastructural developments that are being undertaken by the government through the District Assembly's Common Fund. And these include the construction of 20 townhouses for Court of Appeal judges, which have been completed in Kumasi, and I'm told is due to be commissioned in the middle of October this year, so that judges of the Court of Appeal, so that there will be no need for judges of the Court of Appeal to be trekking from Accra to Kumasi and some flying to Tamale and other places. These bungalows have townhouses come with amenities including swimming pools. That is for those who know how to swim. Swimming pools, tennis courts, and a bar. We are going to draw the attention of the authorities while carrying out this infrastructure development of the very deplorable situation of the Cape Coast Court Complex. The association has decided that we would drum home this point about the deplorable condition of the Cape Coast Complex. I happened to have gone there in June. I was passing through to the Western region on a day when it was raining. And I just thought I should pass by and see one of my colleague judges. It was raining. And of course, I've been there several times, and I know that it's in a very deplorable condition, but I never knew that it was to this degree. I don't want to bore you with what I saw. You may not like it, but it was very, very unacceptable. And I would want to say that the Cape Coast Court is not fit for the purpose for which it was built.
And of course, the concerns of the judiciary there. But it's time for us to have this very pertinent conversation. Of course, if you've been following JoyNews for some time now, you'd realize that we've been putting a spotlight on the living conditions of Ghanaians in Living Standard series. Well, today we'll tell you about a group of researchers collating data of living conditions of Ghanaians in urban areas to help government devise tailor-made solutions to suit their needs and to plan ahead. So let's speak to Kweku Kranting. He's a member of that research team and a professional officer there at the Energy and Climate Change Resilience ICLE Africa, joining us right in studio. Kweku, it's a good time to be talking to you.
Thank you.
When we talk about research, it's something that I'd say we don't appreciate that much here in Ghana. You do agree, because yeah, we don't pay attention to the figures. So why are you going on that adventure of trying to work with the figures?
I mean, so I'll tell you a little story about me. I mean, growing up, I lived and used to hear the word developing country, and Ghana used to be one.
Right.
And as a child, I used to hear developing country. I was hoping that by the time I would be a bit older, I would understand that Ghana would have developed. I guess the closest I had was middle income.
Yeah,
that's
the closest
that
we're
was the
getting
closest
to
we got to.
Right.
So, I mean, the underlying issue with our development has also been as a result of not being informed by science. You have policies that have literally very limited insights, and it's quite a number of policies out there, from education to energy and all that. So me taking on this particular journey on research, want to know how we can do research differently. We should not just do research based on the standardized European model of research, right, which do not reflect us. That has actually been the result of we building cities that do not look like us.
In fact, I was about asking of the scope and where you intend to focus on, because research as a term may be very broad, but what do you intend to focus on?
So the research we're focusing on urban conditions and urban development, and not just urban development, but we want to make sure that urban development is actually much more sustainable than it is as we speak today. As I pointed out, the development structures that we do have today and the cities we have do not reflect us. They reflect something else. And that's the reason why we have so many people living in informal settlements across, not just in Ghana, but across the continent. You have countries that have about 65% of their cities being informal. So how do we then plan our cities differently to ensure that we can actually make it more inclusive, build solutions that actually are homegrown? And that is the journey, and that is how I'm actually exploring the connection between science and policy and community is quite different.
Well, what's the relevance to nation building and development?
So the relevance to nation building and development, I mean, I'll use the word, if you don't actually tackle the nucleus of development, more or less human development, people being educated, given opportunities, all constitute building a community, building a city, then you can actually develop as a nation.
Right.
So we need to understand, and when you're developing a nation, you should understand that there's going to be losers and going to be winners. How do we bring on board those who are actually going to lose? And there's quite a number of evidence in our own development programs where we have a lot of informal settlements. I mean, the latest statistics showing that informality in Ghana has actually increased as a result, post-pandemic statistics that are actually emerging. Yeah. So question is, why is this the issue? How mindful is government about some of these problems? And if we are beginning to build, instead of building more urban cities, we are building more informal cities. So what is happening there?
Which institutions are you working with? Because this is an adult's task. Yeah. I'm sure that you would need some help. So who are you working with to try and get
the research is actually a 6-year research project starting from 2020 to 2026. It's actually led by Manchester University with a consortium of researchers based on the continent of Africa. And my organization happened to be one of the consortia that is actually working on this particular project.
I'm glad that you touched on the point about being pro-African and designing our solutions, tailor-made solutions. How do you intend to make that a unique process in your, exploit?
So I'm a transdisciplinary researcher. Transdisciplinary means that you actually understand that building a capacity and building research, you do not just do it by yourself, but you do a lot of consultative process, build capacity. It's a give and take relationship. You do not do research in a very extractive way, going to communities, collecting data and disappearing. Right. You empower communities to even collect the data about themselves. When you are working in informal settlement, for example, it's one of the most tricky spaces to actually work with. How do you empower people to be able to collect data about themselves so that, again, when you even do the analysis of the data, you can give the data back to them and tell them, what does this data mean for you? What are the opportunities within that data? Not just for me to publish my papers into journals and all that, publish blogs. It's about the community. How does the community see value in science? And literally, that's what we are doing differently.
You know, I'm a journalist, so I'll be nosy a bit. What are the signs? I mean, what are you picking up so far in terms of the indicators?
The indicators are just communities are beginning to be more empowered. Communities that have been involved in their own enumeration. So you know that informal settlements, one do not even have house meters. Right. They are often seen as a problem, not a solution. So this particular research builds some amount of leverage and capacity so that you can retool and repurpose people in informal, mobilize them, equip them with the data. So when politicians come and they tell them, oh, vote for me, they are like, yeah, you want our vote, this is our situation, this is our problem, this is the data that we have about us. Right. If you want our vote, then it's important for you to actually understand this data and help us to actually elevate this data. How do we support us to actually realize the goals of this particular data? So if we don't have water, these are about 300 households that do not have water, do not have electricity. How do you support us? And the numbers are what communities of this nature, informal communities can actually use to use in leveraging political buy-in, political support to be able to actually bridge, assess opportunities for themselves.
Right. So finally, if there's something that our viewers need to know about this research and probably how they could participate in the process as well. Is there any opportunity available for them?
There's a part of the research that I am particularly leading from my organization, and it's called Uptake.
Right.
And it's more like, traditional research is designed, when you finish your research, you do research dissemination. Right. In this case, we're actually trying to build an understanding of situation within a city with communities and with. So what communities that are involved in this particular process, they should be much more open. This research is not designed to be extractive, it's to be inclusive.
Right.
So we want coalitions, organizations, agencies, stakeholders have been identified within the various domains of this particular research to be much more open and forthcoming with information, because we want to do this research as collaboratively as much as possible. And this is not the standard research you see. This is a research that is designed differently, and it's a research that seeks to actually reflect on the concerns and intentions and solutions from the ground.
Sounds interesting. We have to leave it here, but I'll be on the lookout for the findings. Thank you for joining us. And of course, it's time now for us to focus on that conversation with our partners, the Deutsche Welle. Thomas Parr is joining us now with more. Thomas, what's been the reaction to some of the activities, political activities, including a referendum that we're hearing of in Germany? What can you tell us?
German officials, but also European officials more generally, have rejected those referendums, describing them as sham referendums, as so-called referendums. And the reason why they have been rejecting these referendums is because they consider that they are a violation of Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity. And these two concepts, sovereignty and territorial integrity, have been at the heart of Europe's reaction since the war in Ukraine began. That was the most important reason why Europe already in February rejected Russia's invasion of Ukraine, because they considered that it was a violation of Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity. As such, European officials have stressed that they will not recognize these referendums, and in fact they are already discussing the possibility of sanctioning Russian officials, imposing further sanctions, although again this is even a very controversial issue here in Europe. Not everyone is in favor of imposing further sanctions.
Well, Thomas, the issue about the Nord Stream pipeline, they've also come up and reportedly there are some escalations. What details do we know about that as well?
This is a very important issue developing in Europe, and although there is still no concrete evidence of what might have caused those leaks on the Nord Stream 1 and 2 pipelines, most European officials have suggested that it is an act of sabotage, that it's deliberate and not accidental. Again, there is still no confirmation on this as investigations are underway. And if you ask whether this has any impact on energy distribution in Europe, in particular in Germany, German officials have stressed that energy security here is guaranteed. The main reason for that being that there was no gas being transported through Nord Stream 1 or 2 from Russia to Germany, and the fact that German gas reserves are at around 90%. However, this whole situation surrounding Nord Stream 1 and 2 is certainly another big economic and political problem, not only for Germany but also for Europe. Hence, we can expect more reactions from Germany and Europe in the coming days to this whole very difficult situation.
Thomas Parr with our partners Deutsche Welle. And that's why we draw the curtains on the polls here on the JoyNews channel. And bless us, Sogah, log on to myjoyonline.com. We have updates on all of our stories there for you.